So that means when you get your paycheck, and what we teach is you get your paycheck and you're going to put all the money that you make into that HELOC. Okay, so let's say you owe $40,000 and you bring $5,000 in. You're going to put that in, and now all of a sudden you only owe $35,000. Okay, now your line of credit goes up. Okay, so you owed 40, you had 40 available to you. You press that daily number down from 40,000 to 35, so you owe 35. Okay, now whenever you pay your bills off, you're going to pay them out of your line of credit. Okay, and they're going to work in conjunction with each other. So when you're putting all of your money into that HELOC, all right, all your money is going in one spot, and then all of it's coming back out of one spot.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 16 of Yellow Colored Glasses. Before we get started on today's topic, I'm going to come at you with a review from one of our clients. This review is from Corey B. Amanda made switching our auto and home insurance a breeze, all while saving us a ton of money. She even made sure the new carrier covered something in our house that most do not. I would recommend the Warren and Mounce agency team to anyone looking to save money on their insurance while being provided the best customer service possible. Thank you to Corey for that review.
Yes, and good job, Amanda.
Thanks.
You read that on purpose, didn't you?
I actually handed it to her.
She handed it and said, read this one. So there we go.
So what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today?
Girls.
Today we are going to be interviewing Jake and Dustin. And so if you haven't been following us, we've been talking a lot about a financial strategy that could be really beneficial for certain types of families. We've been pretty strategic in, what types of families we offer this to, simply for financial reasons. Obviously, everybody wants to make informed and smart financial decisions. And so this is very, particular to a category of people, and Jake and Dustin will kind of touch on those qualification points. So first, as an introduction, what exactly is this strategy?
Okay, so it is what you call a first position lien HELOC, which HELOC stands for Home Equity Line of Credit, and most people know about that. Most people know what they're familiar with a HELOC, but this specific way that we can use it, the way that people have the ability to do things a little different than just a traditional HELOC. There's a lot of really awesome potential, a lot of things that you can do with it. So that's what we're going to touch on. We're going to kind of talk about the differences between what most people know of a regular HELOC and then obviously this specific one, which is the first lien.
Yeah,
so,
that would be good to touch on for sure.
So yeah, Home Equity Line of Credit.
Excited.
So what's a second lien HELOC? What is that?
Jake, let's change that.
So a second lien is, when everybody thinks of a HELOC, right, you're thinking of literally like what Dustin said, a line of credit off of, your primary home or investment property, whatever that is. A lot of time a HELOC is going to be on the second position. So you're going to have your normal conventional mortgage, right? And then you're going to have a line of credit as the second position, the second lien, the second mortgage, right? That's also what they're called. And that's, typically people are going to use those if they want to consolidate some debt, if they want to fix up some things around their home, whatever that is, right? That's typically, right, what a HELOC is used for. If you're using it on an investment property, sometimes people will take out the equity that they have in their home, right? And they'll get a second lien HELOC, and they'll use that equity to buy another rental property or to buy another investment property. Because basically the HELOC is going to be the equity you have in a property. Okay, most banks are going to loan out 80%. Some will go more, some will go less. But the standard, rule of thumb there is they're going to do 80% of whatever the value of your property is at the time that you're trying to get that second lien. Okay?
For sure.
So, yeah, that's what a normal situation with the HELOC is going to be used for.
So a home equity line of credit is, you've got something that's worth $100. Let's talk small scale. You've got something that's worth $100, but you've only invested $20 into it. And so a home equity line of credit allows you to access that $80 that is of value in that thing. Does that make sense? Or does that...
I think it's 60.
Did I say my
You said
numbers?
80, yeah. So
Yeah, and I understand what. So
Yeah.
so if you've got something that's worth $100,
Right.
and they're going to give you a loan for 80% of the value. But let's say let's say in a second lien position, let's say your loan on that $100. Let's say you've got $60 that you've got in your mortgage, right? It means you have another $20 to access. You have
Yes.
another $20 to to have access to go use for fixing up things,
Correct.
investments, whatever,
Right.
Consolidating debt. That would all be there for that. So,
but you're right. I mean, it's 80. They'll give you
Yeah.
$80 of that 100, right? But there's typically another loan on the property, so it's only going to be the difference from the first loan, to the total equity in the property. So
Cool.
So then, what is the difference between having it in a second position versus having it in a first position?
yeah, that's a good question, Dusty.
okay, so, and this is where I'm just going to go straight into kind of
Yeah.
the strategy of the biggest benefits of being a first lien versus second. Okay, so when we all of us, everybody that we know basically has a mortgage. Okay, and if you have a mortgage, the traditional 30-year or 15-year note, you're paying your interest. Okay, you're paying your interest every single month that you make your mortgage payment. You're paying a certain amount of interest, and that interest is compounding interest. All right, and everybody knows what compounding interest is as far as the way it can work for you when you invest money, the way that obviously credit card debt, mortgages, how it can work against you, all that. So whenever you have a first lien position HELOC, that HELOC is actually going to replace your mortgage. Okay, so let's go back to the 100 that we were just talking about. Okay, so I'm going to say 100,000. All right, so let's say that you bought your house for $100,000.
Okay.
And it was 5 years ago, and you only owe 40,000 on it now. Okay, you only owe 40,000. So right now you could go get a HELOC, a first lien HELOC, and they would give you $80,000 because your home's worth $100,000. Okay. You owe 40 on it right now. They give you $80,000 and say, "Hey, we're literally gonna replace your mortgage." So that $80,000 that they give you, 40 of it is gonna go pay off your actual mortgage that you have currently. Okay, so you borrowed 40 total, and now you've got another 40 that's sitting there for you to have access to. Now, here's the difference and the reason why you would do that. A HELOC is going to have simple interest. Okay. So that means when you're paying simple interest versus compounding, it's just like what a car loan would be. Okay, you're not paying interest on money that you are borrowing. Okay?
Yeah.
After okay, so you get your original loan, your interest that's what you're paying it on. All right. And so as it goes down and it pushes down, you're actually paying that off much quicker. Even though a simple interest rate might seem higher. Okay, let's say it's 6%. That simple interest rate versus a compounding interest rate of 3.5 or 2.5 is still, it's not even the same ballpark. Okay, as far as the way you can pay off that debt much faster. Okay, so that's the reason and the benefit of why you would do it.
And the other thing I want to add to that is we've all been trained, literally all of our lives, to literally think of, what's the lowest interest rate we can get, right? Everybody wants the lowest. That's all they're looking at. What's the lowest? It's not about the interest rate, right? It's about how much you pay in interest.
How often?
Yeah, and that's the ultimate goal. If you are paying 1% on a compounding interest loan, right, which not even a lot of people understand compounding interest versus simple interest, right? I bet majority of people don't quite understand that because it is kind of complicated, but the goal is to pay the least amount of interest as you possibly can. Okay, and that's where this strategy comes into place, because it's not about, and I'll let you go on with it, but it's not about the product, it's not about the interest rate, it's about how you're utilizing this product, right? And the ultimate goal is, okay, how can we cut interest, right, without basically over leveraging ourselves or losing out on extra money that, because like let's say you had a normal conventional mortgage and you just started applying a bunch of money extra towards the principal. Yeah, you could do that, but how do you get that money back, right? You can't get that money back unless you do a cash out or something like that, but it's not available at your fingertips. So that's one big thing that I want to say is we've all been trained, hey, You got a 2% interest rate. Oh, wow, that's amazing. You know, our parents had 13, 14% rates. Like, that's great. You know, you were in an amazing spot. That might be the case. But banks make money for a reason, and it's with compounding interest. And that's why you guys don't hear about what we're going to talk about a lot today. So anyways, go on, Dusty.
Yeah, and to add to that too, when Jake's talking about the lowest interest rate, you know, one of the books that we're reading on the infinite banking, it talks about the focus should be on the frequency that you're actually paying interest, okay? Because when you think about it, we get the lowest interest rate. Let's say how many houses have we owned in the last 3 years? We bought a house,
had
lived in
3
it for a few
houses.
years, bought another house, we're back here. Every single time we've done that, we've just reset the clock on that 30 years. Okay, and that's what people do. Same thing with car payments.
Yeah.
Right? We're constantly just resetting the clock, and so no matter what, we're always paying interest. Okay. So let's say that your goal. Okay. Let's say that someone's purpose and their goal for this would to pay their mortgage off. Okay. They just want to get out of their house.
Yep.
How would they do that quicker with this versus having a regular mortgage? What would they do?
Okay, so.
Sorry, and I just took the girls' questions.
Yeah.
That's okay. That
Was that
wasn't
on
in
your
there.
next? Was that? Sorry, we kind of jumped ahead there.
No, I know,
'Cause-
it's okay. Well, you kind of touched on how is this going to help someone. You're
Okay.
you're giving people access to equity that they wouldn't normally have access to.
Yep. And we'll go into depth with that because there's more things to go into how it could help somebody. But yep, we'll go into that on this next one.
Jake has a diagram here in front of him, and I can blow that up and make it bigger.
I hope you guys don't.
It's not really a diagram,
It's not.
but I mean,
it's
kinda
just
is.
chicken.
Chicken scratch.
Chicken scratch.
I'll make it pretty and put it in legible terms on the screen. So yeah, how does one ultimately end up paying off their home so fast
Yeah.
with this strategy?
Yeah, and I guess a lot of times what we get asked as well is like, okay, well, like this sounds too good to be true, and we're going to go into it. It sounds too good to be true. It sounds like you have to have more money coming in to be able to do this. Like, to squash all of that right off the bat, no.
You don't.
You don't at all. Like literally people's financial situations. Now again, this is a hand-picked strategy, right? This is not something like if you can't manage $100, this isn't going to be a good product for you. Okay.
Right.
If you live paycheck to paycheck, not going to be the best product for you. Now again, if you live paycheck to paycheck, there's nothing wrong to that. It's how do we get to a point where you can use this strategy, because typically people who live paycheck to paycheck, I don't want to say typically, but some of those people are actually very good with managing their money.
Absolutely.
Right?
They have to.
I mean, they have to. Yep. So if you are truly living paycheck to paycheck, hey, this could be good for you. Maybe not right now, but down the road, because you already got the hardest part knocked out is by managing that money.
The discipline part.
Yeah.
The discipline part.
Yeah.
And Dusty, you say this all the time. Like if you can't follow a plan, like
yeah, it doesn't matter. But there's no right strategy. There's
Yeah.
no right strategy. Every strategy can work depending on your goals, on your risk tolerance, on what you want to do with your money.
Yep.
Whether you want to be super, super wealthy and just acquire properties, like whether you just want to just boom, 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 get as much as you can, or
Yep.
whether you just want to be comfortable. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Having that plan
Yeah.
and sticking to it is all that matters. So.
So go into this product, right? Into the strategy. So it's called a first lien HELOC strategy is what we call it. Okay. It's also called an all-in-one loan. It's also called velocity banking. That's another term for it. I like the velocity banking actually term, and what we're doing with the other part, which we haven't even talked in, we're not going to go into today, is the infinite banking. A big thing we're doing is we're combining that velocity banking concept and tagging it along with the infinite banking, right? Because you think of it, what does a bank do, right? A bank takes money, you give a bank a dollar bill, and what do they do with it? They don't just hold on to it, right? Like we all taught, like save your money, save it. They take that money and they disperse it and they loan it out, right? Into these compounding interest loans, okay? So this is why you have not probably heard of this. Anyway, so the concept is let's say you have what Dusty was saying, you have a $100,000 loan, okay? We all know banks are gonna loan you at 80% of that 100K, okay? You have a normal conventional loan, okay? Let's say you have $40,000 on that normal conventional loan, okay? Well, on the first lien HELOC, first lien, first mortgage, first loan, right? First position, 80% is $80,000, okay? So you now have a line of credit for $80,000, okay? Now, since it is the first position, they're going to take and they're going to use that $80,000 and pay off your original loan balance, your normal conventional mortgage. Okay.
So you no longer have your traditional mortgage at this point.
Correct. So in that example, you have a $40,000 conventional mortgage. Bam, you're taking $40,000 out of that line of credit, and you're paying off that conventional mortgage. Okay, so nothing is different other because you still have the same loan balance.
Right.
Your loan balance is still $40,000.
Yep.
What's the difference, right?
Simple and compound.
Well, correct. The other part is now you have access to $40,000 at your fingertips that you have available funds with. So I go off a loan balance, and then I go over here on the right-hand side and I look at available funds. And Dusty, cut in whenever, because you know how I can get with this. I get pretty jacked up.
So before you get too far into it,
Okay.
let's talk about that $40,000 now that we owe on simple versus the compounding.
Yep.
Okay. So everybody knows that whenever you buy, you have your 30-year mortgage, your first year payments. If you look at your, your statements,
All go into your
it's
interest.
all interest. Okay,
All
and very
interest.
little principal. So the reason that happens is what the banks are doing. Okay, is they are taking that money and they're saying, okay, we're going to charge you compounding interest for what your money would make in year 30. Okay, 30 years of paying on this. Here's what we would be making on the returns if we were investing that money and what it would be doing 30 years. Okay, and they're charging you that on the front end on your first year. So that's why you see as it goes, you get into year 2, into year 3, into year 4. Now there's some more money when you're putting it in. There's more money going to the principal, but it's still all that interest is knocking on the front. Okay, which makes it really hard to pay your actual equity in your principal
Right.
on your home. It makes it hard to knock that out quickly. Okay. Now what Jake said earlier, he's like, hey, lots of people would say, oh well, we're going to throw an extra $2,000 at our mortgage. That's great, and yeah, you can put that $2,000 on the principal and knock that down. But what happens if you run into some rough times and you need that money? Okay. If you default on a mortgage, it doesn't matter how far you paid ahead.
Yep.
They can
Right.
take the house. Okay, so
And banks want you to do that. If you think of it, a bank, I've said this for years, and this is where I'm so I'm just so jacked up about this whole strategy, like this whole infinite banking and everything we're doing, because banks have very little risk, right? They loan you money. They are on that title of that property or that car or whatever it is, and if you stop paying on it, guess what? They take it.
Yep.
And all the money you've paid, you could literally owe, 5% left on that loan, and if you stop paying on it, they're going to take it. So now they have all this equity that they have just taken from you, right?
Right.
With the blink of an eye. And it's like, Mr. Bank or Mrs. Bank, I've paid on my loan this whole time. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. If you quit paying, they're taking it, right?
yeah.
So
So now you've got it moved over into the HELOC. Okay. So let's just go 5%. Okay. Let's say you've got a 5% interest rate. All right. Versus your 2.5 that you had on your 30-year mortgage that we all got.
let's actually go up. Let's go some
I
real
was going to do
numbers.
5 for the math.
Well,
Okay.
okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Let's
just
do
to
it
show
for
the math.
then.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
okay.
so you got $40,000, all right, in simple interest. So that means if you had a 5% interest rate, the most that you would pay throughout that year basically would be $2,000. Okay, you'd pay $2,000 of interest on that loan.
That's
okay?
right.
10% would be $4,000. All right.
Right.
So it's interest. It's interest only though. Okay. So that means when you get your paycheck, and what we teach is you get your paycheck, and you're going to put all the money that you make into that HELOC. Okay. So let's say you owe $40,000 and you bring $5,000 in. You're going to put that in, and now all of a sudden you only owe $35,000. Okay. Now your line of credit goes up. Okay. So you owed 40. You had 40 available to you. You press that daily number down from 40,000 to 35. So you owe 35. Okay. Now, whenever you pay your bills off, you're going to pay them out of your line of credit. Okay. And they're going to work in conjunction with each other. So when you're putting all of your money into that HELOC, all right, all your money is going in one spot, and then all of it's coming back out of one spot. Now, if you have positive cash flow, you are knocking down way more principal on that loan than you're spending. Okay, and the other way that you would do it would just be paying your normal mortgage. Okay, and having everything going through debit cards and your checking account. This is taking advantage of simple interest and pushing that number down, and it's unbelievable.
Every single day.
Yeah, every single day. Okay, so every day that there's a balance on that simple interest, it's collecting a little bit. Okay.
Yep.
And so you're just pushing that down at a rapid rate compared to having it in your mortgage that's just sitting there and you're paying a little bit over time.
And think about this, like let's say you pay on your mortgage for 10 years, right? Does your
Right.
mortgage payment go down?
No,
Ever?
your mortgage payment
It's
stays
fixed,
the same.
right? Yeah, exactly. So this, since you're only paying on what your loan balance is, right? You're only paying on what that number looks like. So every month, your minimum payment, the amount of money that you're paying interest on, is going down.
So the first payment is the highest.
The
that
first
you'll pay.
payment is the highest. That's the highest you're ever going to pay in interest is on that first payment. Okay. Now, I don't even know the math on this, but let's say your payment, right, is $1,000, a minimum
Right.
payment of $1,000, which in this scenario would be way less than that. But let's say it is, and you pay $5,000. Well, you overpaid on your mortgage by an extra $4,000. Okay.
Yeah.
So think of it that way. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Because this is not rocket science at all. This is not at all. This is literally exactly what banks will tell us to do. But guess what that does? That on the normal side, on the normal conventional loan, they would love if you did that. That gives them more equity in the property right off the bat, right? So they don't have as big of a loan balance on your property that they're just not necessarily waiting for you to default on. But if you do,
So yeah,
we ready?
banks prefer that you that you pay ahead on.
I mean, if you take, like, let's say your normal mortgage payment is $1,000 and you pay $5,000, right? That's going to knock down the principal even more, right? Which is going to give a bank more equity in that property.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I'm not saying that they're out there like they want you to do that, but realistically, yeah, they would love that. Ideally, they would love for you to get that principal down because guess what that does for them? That eliminates their risk and lowers their risk every single month by doing that. Okay. So that's why another reason why you don't hear about this is because this is cutting money out of the banks, right? Which the banks take so much money, and that's why we're so big on this infinite banking stuff, is of becoming our own banks where we don't have to go to a bank, because again, I mean the banks run everything.
For
So-
sure, and look, we're not sitting here saying that banks are bad.
No.
Okay, either. Like,
Kinda.
Well,
I'm joking.
no, I mean, like,
I know.
It is what it is. It's just, this is all about educating. Like, every single person can get educated on the way that their money works.
Correct.
And we all hear about budgeting and investing and all the stuff that they want you to know about to do. But this is kind of a higher level piece that this is how the banks operate.
Yep.
Okay, and that's what they do.
And it's not rocket science either, and it's very like what we're talking about. Like it can be taught in what we've learned, right? It can be basically anybody can do this.
Absolutely.
Like it's not rocket science. You don't have to have a master's degree or something to figure this out. Like it's just taking a little time, changing the way your mind thinks and how we've all grown up to see how we're supposed to do things, and then actually taking action with it.
So let's talk about the few that we've done, right? And the average number on the interest that this is saving folks. So my mom was on the episode. We did like the third or fourth episode for Yellow Color Glasses. She was on it. She was actually talking about this strategy. She was the first one that we got into this, and we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars on interest that people are they can save. So it's a lot of money that is available.
I mean, I think your
to
mom.
you.
What did she pay? She in that 4 or 5 months, she had saved like. She already paid her mortgage down by like $30,000.
Yeah,
and her financial
almost 40.
situation had actually decreased a little bit.
Yep. So, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like and again, it's not for everybody, right? There's going to be some different things, and we have it written down here that make you an ideal client. But ultimately, what you're doing, just to get back to the whole concept, is right. You're talking about our HELOC, right? Okay, we're going to get rid of the normal conventional loan. We're going to put it all into that first lien HELOC. We still have the same loan balance. You have let's say someone makes $5,000 a month after taxes. They take that $5,000, they apply it all to their loan balance, okay? Yep. And that's going to knock their loan balance in the scenario we're talking about for easy numbers. That's going to knock it from $40,000 down to $35,000, yep. Okay? Then you're going to say, oh, well, hey, Jake, how do I pay all my expenses? My car bill, my food, my utilities. Well, guess what that did? That lowered your loan balance by $5,000 that month. But what did that also do?
bumped up your line of credit.
That bumped up your available funds, your line of credit, because originally you started with a line of credit of $40K, right? Because you had a total loan, or your total property was worth $80K, or was worth $100,000, and you had a total line of credit of $80,000. Okay, so you take out the $5,000 in your available funds basically account, and you pay. Let's say you have $2,500 a month in expenses, right?
Yep.
You pay the $2,500 out of that available funds account.
Yep, and now your loan's sitting, after everything's all said and done, you got your money that you brought in from your paycheck, paid off your expenses, your bills, and now the next month is here, and now you owe $37.50, okay, $37,500, all right, and you rinse, repeat, okay, so you bring in your next $5,000, now your loan is $32,500, okay, your line of credit goes back up, you pay your $2,500 worth of bills, now you're sitting at $35,000. So in 2 months, there's going to be some interest built into that, right? So you've roughly knocked out $5,000 in 2 months, okay? Probably more so around $4,800 of it was in principal probably at that point. So
and then you're also talking about in 12 months. I mean, it's just do that. So times that by 12, right? What's that? $30,000, $2,500 times 12. 2,500 times 12.
Oh yeah.
That's $30,000, right?
Yep.
So in 12 months, in 1 year, you have technically knocked down a loan balance of $40,000 down to $10,000.
Yep.
And guess what that's also done? That's increased your line of credit from $40,000 now up to $70,000. Because let's say in month 6, you have something bad happens where you don't have enough. Let's say there's times where someone doesn't have enough money to pay all their bills and they got to go to their savings account or whatever that looks like. Okay, well, guess what? Now you have a bigger line of credit. And that's why this is so important when we say this, that this is a big deal. Like if somebody is not good with managing their money, this is not a product for you. This is not a strategy for you. Because again, if you can't manage $100, how are you going to manage, let's just say after the first 12 months, how are you going to manage $70,000? Because that's technically how it's going to look. It's going to look like a big $70,000 credit card with a very, very low interest rate on it.
Yep.
Right? Oh, I want to go to this place, that place. I'm going this. Bam, I got this much money. No, you don't technically have this money. Again, this is very disciplined strategy. That's why we handpick people whenever we're talking about this. So,
okay, so we're talking about this though, the same concept. Let's say that this same exact scenario happened, but let's say these folks had $20,000 in credit card debt.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're paying 25% interest on their credit cards. All right, that's compounding interest. Okay, so maybe they throw those credit cards into this as well. Now they've got a much simple interest, lower payment, lower amount. Okay, they put that all in there. And so I like to describe this as, honestly, it's like Dave Ramsey, the snowball, that snowball that he always talks about, that so many people like to do. This is like that on steroids, if they choose to use it that way, okay?
Yep.
So paying off debt, very, very, very good tool for that. How about if you're using this for another strategy, which is to actually leverage your debt and invest in things?
Yeah, and I love that. That's why we're going to be utilizing this ourselves. Like I know when I looked at our Arizona property, we were going to have a $230,000 loan, right? 4.8% interest rate on the normal loan right now. We were going to have that thing paid off in about 5 years. Okay, save about $107,000 in interest, I think. And have that property is now worth almost $500,000, right? So to have a $500,000 property paid off in 5-6 years, when I was expecting to pay on it for another 27 years, with not doing anything different with our financial strategy other than just how we're utilizing our money. And that's the other thing I want to kind of hit on this is like, what you're doing with this is you are utilizing your money the most efficient way possible.
It's working for you.
It's working for you. And that's what you're talking about with the credit cards. Like if you're consolidating credit card debt or any kind of bad debt, every situation's different. When you put it all into one pool, okay, again, as long as you're not over leveraging yourself and everything makes sense, okay, all the money that you're making and putting towards this is being utilized the most efficient way, which is why you're saving so much money in total interest. And we have calculators. We put 12 months of studying into this, and been around a lot of mentors and a lot of guys that are doing this and have helped hundreds and thousands of clients out, across the country. So this isn't something that me and Dustin or anybody like that has made up. This is out there. We've just taken it and ran with it, and now we're trying to, of course, share it with you guys.
Yeah, and I think with that too, obviously, whenever you hear it, the first couple times, just like Jake said at the beginning, it's kind of like, oh, this is too good to be true. This just doesn't sound right. Just have a conversation. And every single scenario is a little bit different. Everybody's goals are different. Everybody has different risk tolerances. Everybody has a little bit different mindset with things. But also, by having the conversation, it opens you up to, oh, I never thought of this idea, or I didn't realize I could use this in this way, or I didn't know it would open up this opportunity for me. And to be honest, the qualifications for this it's not super strenuous, right? If you've been in your home really over 2 years, especially with the way the market has just done what it's done over the last decade, you're going to have equity. Interest rate is irrelevant, okay? It's irrelevant. If you have positive cash flow, okay? You do need to have positive cash flow. You can't be in the red every month, okay? Because you have to have, at the end of the day, more money coming in to push down on the total balance than you're taking back out of it to spend, okay? So you do have to have positive cash flow. And then really the third one, we talked about it all the time. What's the third one? Why am I losing it?
Discipline.
Oh, credit score.
Yeah, credit score. Because
Yeah,
I mean, and again, you're not over leveraging yourself. I mean, again, I know there's some line of credits, like we know a couple credit unions that'll go up to 90% and 100% actually. But, you want to stick at that 80% mark. But yeah, I mean, your credit's got to be good, or sometimes, again, interest rate's a big deal. This is one thing that I do get asked, is like, okay, what are the cons of this, right? And really the cons of this is, we're not, again, this can do the exact opposite to somebody. If they're not following the plan, if they're not disciplined, this can put somebody back, okay? It realistically can, and it can do it very quickly. But if you can follow the plan and you are disciplined, which how we come into play is, we charge a fee, we charge a certain dollar amount to basically help somebody out with this, and then we'll meet with them to get it all set up, and then we meet with them, once a month at least for the first 3 months, and then every 6 months afterwards until, basically we kind of like let them go, and we feel comfortable with that, they've gotten the concept down and strategy down, and we're of course a phone call, text message away, whatever that looks like. Yep. But the other biggest thing is a variable rate, okay? In this market, probably not the best option, okay? We have a couple different credit unions that we have talked with, and they offer a fixed rate, okay? They offer a fixed rate on a first lien HELOC. They offer a fixed rate on a second lien HELOC. They offer, basically what I'm saying is a fixed rate. So the rate's not going to go up, it's not going to go down. It's going to stay exactly the same. So
yeah, and the benefits of that are just everybody with the way interest rates are changing so rapidly, it's nice to have that number that this is where it's going to be.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, your interest rate that you have right now on your conventional mortgage, whether it's 2.5, whether it's 3.5, whatever that is, it's gonna look different when you go from compounding to simple.
Yep.
Okay, and
all the time. And
it's not as big a deal as it looks on the first time you see it. Oh, well, why would I go from a 3 to a 6?
Yeah.
It's not the same thing, and definitely have the conversation. Definitely let us show you guys. Look at episode 5 that we put out.
Yep.
That was the one that had my mom on there, and she talks about her hesitancy and her she was skeptical. She was, hey, this is too good to be true, and now she's just blown away at what it's doing for her in her situation. And so it's been awesome. So,
and to add to that, you asked this question just a little bit ago, and we'll wrap it up here. That's one concept, one strategy with it, of just getting out of debt. Okay, I love debt. Debt is good in my opinion. Like if you're utilizing it the right way,
for sure.
Right? And this is something that can really take. If anybody out there is investing into real estate or really anything business-wise or whatever it is, if you got multiple properties, whatever that looks like this could be a strategy that could really help you scale that business
Absolutely.
at a huge rate. Because this is the other thing, and we're not even talking about this. How many times have you ever seen a house, right, worth less today than what it was 10 years ago?
2008, one time.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe at this rate,
Possibly.
right? I don't know. But statistically, nothing goes down in real estate. Yeah, there might be dips and
Sure.
whatnot, but overall, if you are planning on keeping a property for more than 5 years, there's no way that I have seen. Now, again, we weren't in the 2008. That was probably a weird time, but that was the only time that the real estate market crashed the way it did,
Correct.
right?
And the reason I said 2008, the reason I said 2008 is because even in that moment, in that specific worst financial, housing financial situation that we've seen, for sure in our lifetime,
Yep.
and most of our parents' lifetime, even in that specific time period, it still wasn't. It still wasn't.
You can maybe make an argument that, and again, I don't know, but in 5 years after 2008, right, properties, like if, let's say you bought a property in 2006, and then, it dipped down, and then back in 2000,
13, 2012,
12, whatever,
Yeah.
it was probably still worth more, right? Because
absolutely.
again, there's going to be dips. So the point is that that's the beautiful thing about this, is that you can rinse and repeat this thing.
over and over and over.
You take and you buy, or you do a first lien HELOC, you buy that interest rate, or you continue to lower that loan balance and lower that interest, right? All along while you're doing that, your property is appreciating, okay? So it's going up in value statistically, okay? And you're paying it down at a way rapid pace, right?
Yep.
Then in 5 years, you take that out, you go buy more properties. That increases your cash flow, which what does that do? Your loan balance just increased by a ton, but that just increased your cash flow a ton. So it buys it down even faster this time.
Yep.
You do the same thing. And then, again, it's an ongoing rinse and repeat cycle. And I just get so jacked up when I'm talking about it because it's going to be very, very exciting. So anyways.
Yeah, there's tons of possibilities with it, and hopefully we've been pretty service level and not too confusing with
Yep.
it. We tried to do easy numbers and math and all that. But yeah, if you're watching this and you just want to have a conversation, just want to see, learn a little bit more about it, reach out to us, and we'd love to talk to you about it. And there's
a whole other piece to this bad boy too.
Yeah, there is.
Like when us talking about the banks and how banks work, and actually cash is a liability, because if you look at it from a bank standpoint, they don't keep your cash on hand, they give it away. They're like, I get this money now, I don't want this, give it away, right? There's the other part to this, that you can basically become your own bank, and I know that sounds absolutely wild, but we have a really good strategy in place with that as well that we've been doing a ton on. But yeah, velocity banking combined with the infinite banking we haven't even started talking about, but it's pretty exciting stuff.
So keep watching, guys. We appreciate it. And like I said, if you have any questions, you just want to talk about it at all, shoot us a message, give us a call.
Yep.
And we'd love to hear from you too. We'd love to hear from you. Anything was confusing, anything like that, just ask away. Okay.
100%.
All right. Thanks for watching episode 16.
Sounds good.
All right. Peace out, everybody.
Peace. Go Chiefs.